So this meeting is going to be recorded. So let me read the statement, if I may, to get this thing started. Due to the governor's statewide disaster declaration relating to the COVID-19 pandemic and current public health guidelines for social distancing, I have determined that it's not prudent for the members of the village board or staff to convene in person for tonight's meeting. Therefore, the members of the village board are attending this meeting by video conference. Those same conditions require barring access to the public for in-person attendance. In light of those limitations, the public is invited to attend and listen to the meeting through the Zoom platform or by phone as indicated on the meeting agenda. To comply with the Open Meetings Act requirements for virtual meetings, tonight's meeting is being recorded. So what we do need to do is do a roll call, Amy, and we need to make sure that everyone can be heard, right? So if you could do that, that would be awesome.
Trustee Borowski, can you hear and be heard?
Loud and clear, thank you.
Trustee Kritzmeyer.
I am here.
Trustee O'Reilly, are you here?
You're there.
I'm now here.
Okay, thanks for making it.
All right, just trustees, correct? Not the rest of us. And
Correct.
We know you're here, Bill. We can hear you. All right, we've got Trustee Nora
Here.
and Trustee O'Connor
Here.
and Trustee Micho.
Here.
All right, what I didn't do is the Pledge of Allegiance, so if everyone wants to join me in the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be great. I pledge allegiance to the flag
To the flag
of the United
of the
States
United States of America.
Of America.
to the
To the
republic
republic
For which it stands,
one nation,
one nation,
under
under
God,
God,
Under God.
indivisible, with
Indivisible.
liberty
Liberty
and justice for all.
All right, welcome everyone. This COVID stuff is driving me nuts. I am about had it with it. So one day it's going to end, I'm sure. But the first item on our agenda is the Homeowners Association visitors. Is anyone here from Country Club Estates like Stephanie Hannon? Anyone from Country Club Meadows? I'm sorry. Is anyone here from Country Club Meadows? What about Edgebrook Downs? Lori Lyman, are you here? Sandy, I can try to unmute you. Do you have anything for us, or?
No, I don't have anything. Lori was supposed to be on too.
Okay, got it. But no comment at this point?
No.
Okay, thank you for joining. Appreciate you being here. And then La Sylvain, Howard.
Carol Mangerton's here.
Carol Mangerton's here. Okay, great.
Right.
Anything for us?
Everything's good, no complaints. The farm isn't giving us any problems to date, and if it is, Dave always knows I'll give him a call.
I was getting worried when I saw your name there because I know what this usually is about, right?
No,
Begins with an
everything's
horse,
good.
with a horse and ends with a you know what. So,
Exactly. No, everything is good.
oh, good. I'm glad to
And-
hear that.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. And the development is wonderful. Thanks. And
I'm
then
glad-
everybody be safe and well.
Well, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. And thanks for those wishes.
Thanks.
Great. Well, the next item on the agenda has been one we've received a lot of feedback. So let me do my best to set this up. It's in regards to renaming Robert Parker Coffin Road back to its original name, Long Grove Road. Additionally, it would require that we formally name the west portion of Long Grove Road, or the original Long Grove Road, to West Long Grove Road. The village would name the covered bridge Robert Parker Coffin Bridge, and would also install commemorative signs in the downtown, right below the new Long Grove Road signs. Trustee O'Reilly did have conversations with Bob Parker Coffin's family, and they have no objections to the plan. The thought process is we would do, when we're able to, we would do a dedication ceremony that the Robert Parker family would attend. There's the new park that's right near the bridge. I think by the covered bridge trail, a tree would be planted there. with daffodils in honor of Robert Parker Coffin. And, some of this would address the question of why Long Grove Road doesn't go into downtown Long Grove. And there's some, benefits to doing this from an economic standpoint for the downtown. We've received a lot of feedback already on this topic since the last board meeting. It was on the agenda last board meeting, plus we put an article out there. So what I think I'm going to do at this point, if it's okay with the board, is open it up in case there's any public comment right now on this, and would ask everyone to try to be as brief as possible. Does anyone have any public comment? All right, that's surprising, but maybe everyone's muted. If you need to raise your hand for me to unmute you, let me know. I want to make sure you're heard. But we did get a lot of feedback, so every which way. So maybe I'll open. Go ahead.
Is it possible to just cover some of the questions that have already been raised so that we don't ask questions that you're already have been covered?
I'll do my best, I guess, and I'll ask some help from the board. I think there may be some confusion naming the Long Grove Road that exists today, West Long Grove Road, and there's some concern about confusion there. Some were worried about that we wouldn't be respectful in renaming the road to Robert Parker Coffin, but I don't think that everyone knew that there's been conversations there, so there was a lot of talk about that. There was concern of some of the private roads that have somehow been named by the mapping services, Robert Parker Coffin Road, and confusion that might cause, but they're private roads. They probably never should have been, and so we were, there's a way to get those roads named appropriately and renamed from a mapping service and with the county. What am I missing here, everyone? I'm trying to cover the items.
I think that the Postal Service, IDOT, and the fire department had some issues regarding confusion. So confusion is probably Roman numeral 1.
Yeah, although everyone's supposed to be using RFD, which is a whole nother fun thing. So, but yes, I understand.
There's also some concerns from the private right.
Oh, Jenny, you cut out, sorry. Jenny? Trustee Michaud? All right, we'll let Jenny.
I have a question.
Please.
I'm Jerry Campbell from Surrey Lane off of Long Grove Road. I sent you an email about this. It only came out in the Bridge this week, and then all of a sudden you're discussing it for a second time right now. I don't think that a lot of the residents that live on Long Grove Road in Long Grove and on Robert Parker Coffin in Long Grove have any idea about what you're trying to do. For one thing, West Long Grove Road, when you talk about that, then when you get to the Choker Bridge and it's all of a sudden it's Long Grove Road Killdeer, then it's Long Grove Road Deer Park, then it's Long Grove Road Barrington. It's very confusing for people that are giving directions because they're going to be on Long Grove Road in Long Grove. Plus, our house, and as I stated this in my email, our house was designed by Robert Parker Coffin. His wife was one of the founding members of the Garden Club. I don't understand the purpose and the reasoning behind all this. The Bridge did not tell you anything about the reasoning for doing this. Sorry.
Yeah, no, Jerry, thanks for your comments, and I shared those with the board too. So, and my apologies for not doing a long response. The Sunday didn't work out that way, but I appreciated you sharing it. So thank you.
What is the reasoning? Why do you want to change things?
Back as I tried to introduce this with part of the reasoning was addressing the question that everyone asks is, why doesn't Long Grove Road go into Long Grove?
And that's a reason to change? What about GPS? What about MapQuest?
And it's, you know, economic development and so forth, from the downtown. There is a lot of, you know, confusion with Robert Parker Coffin Road, and it's not being disrespectful in any way to Robert Parker Coffin Road. You know, Trustee O'Reilly had already talked to the family about how we're going to rededicate the bridge to Robert Parker Coffin, and plant a tree in his honor, do a ceremony as we, you know, when we're able to do it. So this, you know, some work had been done and, you know, with the family in advance, and, you know, sorry for springing this on you. It may not be something we'll decide tonight, but something that, you know, the board wants to discuss further. And that's why it's on the
Okay,
agenda.
well, my idea is please let all the residents know what they're going to be up against. I mean, it's all the residents along that road, all the roads that lead off that, like Third Lake Road, all the ones that are off of Robert Parker Coffin, off of Long Grove Road. You're making things very, very confusing for GPS, for Google Maps, for UPS, for all those agencies, and there's nothing wrong with the way it's been. I don't understand. I don't think you need to bow down. I'm sorry. I don't think you need to bow down to the Long Grove business community to rename the road. It is Robert Parker Coffin Road. There's nothing wrong with that. Okay.
No, Jerry, thank you for your comments. I appreciate it. Any other public comment? If not, I'd like to turn this back to the board for discussion, and would open it up to the board for their thoughts.
I guess I do have a couple of questions. My name's Jeff. I'm from the Long Grove Community Church.
Jeff, thank you for joining.
Yeah, and we're not you know, necessarily against the name change. It's just we're seeking to just understand a few basic things. You know, I know that you're going to communicate to the appropriate agencies. It says that in your note. Is there a list of who those agencies are?
Village Manager Ledspike, you want to help me with this one?
Yeah, there's an example. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay. There's an example on the in the board packets that are on the web page as well of a letter that we sent to the different agencies for a road for private lane off of located off of Route 22. They had all of the residences in that instance had Route 22 addresses, although all of their private driveways were off of a private lane. They asked for the village's assistance to rename it. We did that, and as part of that effort, sent a letter off to, and I'm opening it as we speak here. It's referred to as example address change letter in the board packet. Went to the postmaster, Lake County Assessment Office, Lake County Sheriff, and Long Grove Fire Protection District.
Okay. So, you know, I guess how does, like, and I'm sorry for the basic questions, but how does, like, Google Maps, how do they find out about something like that, so that when someone Google, you know, how does that happen? Or does it happen? Is it just something that we live with that confusion for a little while, you know, for times, and or is there someone that notifies that?
I believe that the addresses that Google uses are based on the Postal Service records. So the notification to the post office should resolve that. There's another entity in the groups that we would be notifying, and that's Lake County GIS, which is GIS mapping services. And so, for example, I know that there was a question earlier about renaming what is existing Long Grove Road in Long Grove, West Long Grove Road, at least according to Lake County GIS, along with Google Maps. The properties that are located in the villages of Killdeer off of Long Grove Road already have West Long Grove Road designation. And that's Long Grove Road on both the east side and the west side of Rand Road. An example of, we believe this may have come through Google Maps. We're not sure where it started. There was a concern raised by the private property owners located off of existing Robert Parker Coffin Road near the intersection of Route 53. There's a private lane to the west. For whatever reason, those addresses over the years have become known as Robert Parker Coffin street addresses. So similar to any of the proposed road changes, and if the representatives that live off of this private lane would like to have a different name, we could follow the same process that we did for the other residents up off of Route 22 to assign that as a name different than Robert Parker Coffin, or they could keep it as is without any action.
Okay, thank you for that answer. And so, you know, is there a transition period where the post office will like mail to both addresses? So if people have the address Robert Parker Coffin, you know, and now the name changes, but is there a transition period where they're going to continue to deliver it? Will they know?
Well, I mean, first off, I mean, so our addressing scheme is RFD for the U.S. Post Office. So, you know, they should absolutely know that, you know, whatever your address is, it's going to be 4 digits RFD. That's how it should be mailed. I know that it's been, you know, the street name actually gets loosely used. Please keep in mind that the plan still is to have a commemorative sign up there too, beneath the new Long Grove Road sign. So it's not, Robert Parker Coffin Road's not necessarily going to totally go away because there'll be a commemorative sign beneath it as well. So
and I'm good with that, and I understand. But so when we change it to Long Grove Road, if someone does use the old address, you know, will the post office, at least for some transition period of time, you know, say, oh yeah, they just don't know it's Long Grove Road yet, and they'll still deliver it, or are they going to return? You know, will there be a
well, I would assume so, Dave. You can check with the post office, but every house in Long Grove has a unique 4-digit address. Every house.
Okay.
So
I'm just trying to, you know, I know some of these are basic questions. I'm just trying to.
It's a good question. It's a valid question, and we will make sure in our notifications to the post office that regardless of the name or name change, that they should be delivering it to 4-digit address, so that if they do get something even months down the road that may no longer have or have the old address, that they're still delivering it to the in terms of street address to the street number.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess the one downside, I guess we'll just understand, and you know, we just gotta live with and just know it's there, is that you know, GPSs that are in cars that don't get updated, you know, we're just gonna know that a lot of people are not gonna have the right address, right? So GPSs where the car is supposed to get updated, but people don't update them, or they're just old, you know, they're gonna have the old street address in there, and you know, they're not going to update. And so we just, for your consideration, I just think you ought to know that there will be if people are using Google off their iPhone, that'll get updated probably, no problem. But the people that are using their cars, a lot of those don't get updated, so they'll have the wrong address. So just something for the board to consider. as you're making your decisions. And then the last thing, and I appreciate you letting me have a little time here, sorry, is, when we've done name changes in the past, are there some things that we ought to learn there that we just, oh, we forgot this or this, are there things from name changes in the past that we might learn from?
Yeah, I don't have the answer to that, but
The only name change that I'm familiar with is the example that I provided earlier, and we did not get any responses or comments back from those property owners of there being any problems. So I don't have any, cliff notes to go off of other than what we did the last time. So I don't have any reason to expect why there might be problems this time.
Okay. I appreciate you answering the questions.
yeah, thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Well, if I could maybe turn it back over to the board at this time for.
Hey, Bill, can I
one last word in?
question
Oh,
here?
sure, Mike. Sorry.
Hello, Long Grove Board. I hope everybody's doing well.
Thanks, Mike.
Just had one question. So the bridge will definitely be called the Robert Parker Coffin Bridge. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the plan. Yep.
Okay. And I know I hear the hesitation on the Long Grove Road because there's so much confusion. Have you even thought about maybe calling it Covered Bridge Road that goes into the Robert Parker Coffin Bridge?
Well, that came up in the last meeting, so that's the possibility. So.
Okay. That was all I had. Thank you.
No, Mike, thanks for being here too, and thanks for your comments. Appreciate it. Walt?
Can I ask one more question and make a small point?
Sure.
Anytime you put more than one street name or road name on a pole, as in a commemorative or a vanity street or address, you've just added another aspect and possible way to get confused. Someone with a cell phone who is looking around for some place to identify themselves, it's just now they have two streets to choose from on the post, and the old name, the new name, it gets pretty hard to choose.
Yeah, good point, Walt. Thank you for that.
Could I add one thought?
Sure, Roger.
Good evening. Last week, I got the sense that part of the problem was the downtown merchants didn't like the connotations that came with Coffin. I've been giving Coffin Road as the place to turn for addresses to my place for 30 plus years. And the thing is, people who haven't been out for a while always remember, oh yeah, you're on Coffin Road. There's some value to being a Coffin Road and being unique. End of report, or whatever you want to call it.
Thanks, Roger. Appreciate it. All right, can I turn it over to the board now, just for comments, thoughts?
Yeah, let me start by saying that I've been working on this for almost a year, and you've captured all of my points that I've made. But just so to correct you, Bill, daffodils have nothing to do with Bob Coffin. They have to do with Betsy Coffin.
Oh, sorry. Thank you.
They're under the tree at the village hall, so don't associate that. So you've said everything. You've taken all of my points already. So I would just say more people want this to be done. Change is sometimes difficult for some people, easy for others. And this would be an easy change to make. And remember, it always was Long Grove Road. And Bob Coffin didn't like the fact that it was named Robert Parker Coffin.
Thanks, Bobby. Appreciate the comments. And thanks for correcting me. I always appreciate that. Chuck, I'm looking at you right now. You can't tell.
Yes, sir. No, I can tell. I've got one comment to make. There's a lot of websites, if you're doing e-commerce, that as soon as you put in 60047, it automatically forces your village to Lake Zurich. When I first moved in, it really, really disturbed me because I thought I wasn't going to get half of the things that I was either ordering or expecting correspondence in the mail because of this insistence on 60047 is Lake Zurich, not Long Grove. my concerns were completely unfounded. So I'm not so sure that changing to Long Grove Road is going to be a real big problem.
Thanks, Chuck. I appreciate that. Let's see, Rita, Trustee O'Connor.
I received 3 emails in the last few days because I sent out a notice saying we're discussing this again. I'd be interested in your thoughts. All 3 of them were negative, some for financial reasons. That one of them mentioned the $3,300 to change the signs. Most of them, the balance of the people who emailed me were concerned about the confusion, safety, calling, like Walt said, calling the fire department, what road, how do you know if they're going to find you or not, sort of thing. It doesn't affect me personally, so my concern would be the concerns that Walt has brought up, and I'm kind of between a rock and a hard place on this one. And before I sign off, I got a text from Jenny saying she thinks she's muted again.
Oh gosh, let's see.
Check your board.
She must have dropped off or something.
I'm here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Yep.
Okay. Okay, I'm here. So thanks. Do you want me to go to next?
Well, as long as we can hear you, you might as well talk while we got you.
Okay, so I'm in a car, so I might drop out because I'm driving back from St. Paul, but I'm not driving. Nick's driving.
That's good.
Yeah. So I am one of the members that live down that dead end road at the end of Robert Parker Coffin. And there is a consensus. We already have, even though we have a private road, we have a no trespassing sign, but there is a genuine concern that people are going to be going down looking to connect to the other part of Long Grove Road. And I've been assured that this is going to be a problem because Google directs people where they want to go. Well, I will tell you that Tony Dean has spent over $5,000 fighting Google on directing people through his private property. So to assume that they are just going to take this on is a major error on everybody's fault, because it doesn't happen that way. If you want to go and investigate this further, go look up Google directing people through private properties, because there's a long list, and we had a really expensive problem, and it took a long time to resolve. So I don't think that's natural, a thing you can assume is going to happen. I also agree, yes, Bob Coffin did not want this road named after him. He is a humble man. A humble man does not want things named after him because he is a humble. But Bob Coffin did a lot of great things for this village. I think he's being honored by it being the name. I don't think it's necessary to change it. I have talked to a lot of people. They're not for this. I don't know why this is becoming an issue, and I'm not open to it. I don't like it.
Thanks, Jenny. We appreciate you speaking your mind. Thank you. Trustee Borowski.
I was hoping you'd save me towards the end, but
You're almost at the end.
yeah, I know. You know what? To me, we're discussing or trying to fix a problem that I don't know exists. We're kind of making a mountain out of a molehill. I don't have any objection to Robert Parker Coffin Road at all. So I'm not really sure why we're having this conversation. I understand the benefits to the downtown. Long Grove Road leads to Long Grove. I also understand what Jenny just said on the back side of that, on the north or the southwest side. I get that. I just don't know why we're talking about this. It doesn't seem like something we need to be discussing right now. I'm all in favor of naming the bridge after Bob. Great man, great mentor on the Plan Commission back in the day. But I just don't know why we're even discussing changing the road name, frankly.
Thank you, Trustee Borowski. I appreciate it. Trustee Kritzmeyer.
Chris just basically voiced my thoughts too. I appreciate the thinking on this, but I also think that it's not broken. I am in favor of naming the bridge after that. I just think that the confusion factor is high, especially with all of the not connecting or semi-connecting other Long Grove roads that kind of look like and get treated by maps. So it feels like we're fixing a problem that doesn't really exist. It's not broken.
Okay, so if I'm getting this right, Trustee O'Connor is sort of no, Jenny's a, Trustee Michaud is definitely a no, Trustee Borowski's a no, Trustee Kritzmeyer's a no, correct?
Agreed.
You know, at this time, I don't think there's enough support to, for a motion to carry. So at least for now, I think we'll table this issue unless, Bobby, I don't know if you have any other comments. You're muted, by the way. All right, I guess that means no. So, all right, I'm going to move on to the next agenda item unless somebody wants to discuss further from the board. All right. Moving along, this one hopefully is a little bit easier. And this is an ordinance amending the traffic regulations for the Robert Parker Coffin Bridge. You know, by taking the cover off the bridge, we can now increase the weight limit of it. And I believe, Dave, moving it from 4 tons to 5 tons makes it in compliance with what the state regulates, right? And and so the weight limit now with the redesign of it with the cover off actually goes up to 9 tons, which we're not expecting vehicles to drive over that heavy. But this is just to align line it to 5 tons for, you know, traffic regulations and so forth. So Dave, I don't know if you have any other comments on that, but that's my understanding.
Your understanding is correct.
Would you like a motion?
I sure would.
I would move a roll call motion approving an ordinance amending the traffic regulations of the Village Code, Chapter 11, regarding the covered bridge or Robert Parker Coffin Bridge to increase the maximum gross weight from 4 to 5 tons.
Do you have to add COVID-19 to that roll call motion, Dave? Is that correct, or Betsy?
No, that's only a notation
Okay.
for the board's reference as to why it's roll call.
Oh, okay, got it. All right, I wasn't sure about that, so I was trying to figure that out. Okay, so moved by Trustee Kritzmeyer, seconded
I'll
by
second.
by Trustee
I'll
Nora.
second. Yep.
All right.
Hey, Bill, any consideration for like trailers and things like that, or I mean, is it just a tow vehicle? Is it trailers, or is there anything that we should add in there, or is it already cover that by just saying any vehicle?
Well,
maybe that's a Vic question. I don't know. I don't know if it matters.
Or Betsy. Betsy's here. Vic's not
Oh,
here.
sorry.
Yeah, so the notation, it would be for all vehicles that would drive across. So it would be a maximum of 5 tons for any vehicle.
Any
What if you have a trailer
individual?
attached?
Right, that's my question. Combination or singularly?
I believe it's the entire vehicle, but maybe Dave knows better. That's not an issue that we had looked into.
Chris, it's a good question. You know, oftentimes you deal with these things on like per axle weight. The way that we are addressing it currently, since we're not going by axle, I would say that it is the gross tonnage for the entire vehicle, which would include if you had a trailer attached.
Okay, I understand. I just, you know, just random thought. I was just thinking about it. And okay, that's cool. Thank you.
All right, Trustee Borowski?
I'm sorry. Was that seconded by somebody?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, it was. Trustee Nora.
Oh yeah, thank you. Yes. Aye.
All right, Trustee Kritzmeyer?
Aye. Sorry.
Trustee O'Reilly?
Bobby, are you still there?
Don't think she is.
Okay.
All right, I can circle back. Trustee Nora?
Did you hear me?
No, I did not.
Aye. Yes.
Aye. Okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
Trustee O'Connor
Aye.
and Trustee Micho.
Aye.
And I don't think Trustee O'Reilly is back with us.
Yeah, I think she left. So she's got some things going on. So she may have left for now. So.
Okay.
But all right, so
I'm
motion
going
carried.
to
Yeah.
mark her. So for the minutes, I'm going to mark her as having left the meeting maybe a couple minutes ago. And that is why I'm down 1 on the vote count. And when she comes back, since I can't see anything, someone let me know so I can mark what time she's back in.
All right. Thank you, Amy. The motion's carried.
Sorry, Amy, for the minutes, you could just mark her as absent rather than having cast a vote.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so now the next item on the agenda, there's actually 3 special events, temporary signage applications, and a raffle application. The first one is for the Oktoberfest, and we probably need to go in order. And I would ask Dave, did we receive the Vintage Days application? Dave?
We have not. I did reach John Kopecki. Unfortunately, he was not in a position to be able to send me the application. This application, the application for Vintage Days evidently went before the Historic Downtown Long Grove Business Association in May. There was some change in staffing there, and we believe it may have gotten picked up. So what I have uploaded to the village board's Google packet is the application that was approved for last year. Just from talking with John, he said that it will be something less than what was included in the application last year because they scaled back due to COVID. But the general parameters of their event remain unchanged. The challenge with that particular application is their event is coming up to your next meeting. So I would ask for the board's consideration of approval, noting that it's less than what was presented and approved last year and subject to receipt of the completed application for 2020.
Or alternatively, I still have the ability to approve those per the process that the board has vested me with, right? So we would, once we get the completed application, we can circulate it to the board for their review. So it's really either way, whatever the board wants to do on that one.
Very good.
So, since we're on that one, why don't we just ask that question right now? Does somebody want to make a motion to approve the Vintage Days application based on last year's event application? Or do you want to wait till you see the updated app?
I would like to see the updated app.
Okay. Anybody else? I'm assuming no one wants to make a motion then, so that one we'll just wait unless somebody wants to make a motion.
Hey, Bill, I've got a question. How are we distancing on that one? To me, it sounds, kind of a tough event to hold with social distancing. I guess a couple of these same question, right? Vintage Days as well as the race, right? I mean, we canceled the marathon, but we think a Long Grove race is okay. So, or we cancel a marathon, we think putting all our kids in a parking lot's okay. How are we going to do that? Do we have per phase 4, per phase 3? How are we going to do this?
Yeah, and I've heard nothing on the, I don't see anything in here regarding that, although I believe the setup is in such a way where, it is pretty separate. Face masks could be required by the event planners, but none of that stuff is written here, right? So to your point.
Yeah, it bothers me a little bit.
I'll ask John Kopecki to address that issue as part of their application. And he said he would have that to me tomorrow, so we can distribute it to everyone.
All right, thanks, Dave. I appreciate that. I'm just sitting here thinking, I'm not sure what schools are doing. If schools are opening or not. I mean, if schools are closed, but yet we're putting the kids in the parking lot, you got to think about whether that makes sense.
Yep, great point. So, all right, well, let's go then to the, so that one we're going to wait on. Let's go to Oktoberfest. Any discussion there? Anyone want to make a motion approving it?
Bill, I just had a question. Did anybody address Ann's concerns about the two events happening at the same time?
Dave?
I inquired with the downtown organization. I did not hear back from them on that issue.
They're happening at the same
Then-
day, but the Stemple parking lot wasn't being used. I know that I see Peter Sarkowitz, I believe you joined. I don't believe it's ending in the Stemple lot, though, per the Ann's email, but I could be wrong.
No, he asked to change it to the Stemple lot, and
Oh, did
that's
I
why
misread
there's a
that? Okay.
collision.
Yeah.
Yeah, basically the Oktoberfest thing says they want to set up on Friday and leave it up for 3 days. And then the races were in Archer Lot, and now they want to end at Stemple Lot. And I just don't see that as feasible. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
But if we don't have answers, that's hard to evaluate.
Yeah, good point. All right, so that one we're going to table until we get the answer. Is that what everyone wants to do? We got a little bit of time, right?
I'm good with that. I had a question on the race. I was impressed with the video, which tells me it's possible to do the social distancing. I'm concerned about runners running along half of Cuba or Old McHenry while there are cars running alongside of them. That seems like an invitation for trouble.
Yeah, and I think, Peter, you're here, right? So, yeah, I can't hear you, but I know you're here.
He's muted.
Yeah, it's his mic's, he's not muted on my side, so he must be muted on your side. I can't hear you. All right, well, Peter, we can't hear you, so we'll continue to talk, and if you can somehow, you're not muted on my side. I'm not, I don't know if you muted. I can mute you and unmute you, but you're not.
He's showing you a cell phone.
Yeah, we can't hear you. Oh, someday we'll be back to normal meetings, I'm sure. Can't wait. Peter, we can't hear you. All right, while he's coming back.
Hey, Mark?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you talk? Can they hear you?
Can you guys hear me, Mark?
Well, I think we can hear Peter now. Is that Peter, are you talking and Mark talking?
Peter's on my cell phone, so he's talking through my phone.
Okay, got it. We can hear him now. So we can hear you, Mark.
Okay, go ahead, Peter.
All right, you guys can hear me all right?
Yes, we can.
Yes.
All right, fantastic. We made it through an intermediary. Okay, yeah, so what was the question that you wanted me to speak to?
Well, one of them is just the simple thing of it's ending in the parking lot where the Oktoberfest is going to be set up, right? So that was, that change was one of the questions. And the other one was just how do people run safely down Cuba Road with cars coming at them in the other direction, right?
Okay, yeah, great questions. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to take another look at this. So I guess to speak to the parking lot thing first, since I believe that was brought up first, is we don't need to finish in that particular lot. there's plenty of space in the Archer lot for us to totally separate the start and the finish, and barricade if needed, even in between those. Judging from the event that you guys watched the video at, we had kind of the start and the finish kind of in the same location, but kind of spilling out in two different ways. And that was 1,200 registered participants. And what you were seeing in that video was not like, you know, the best case scenario. What you were seeing in that video was literally how it looked throughout the entire event. So there's no issue with us being able to keep it all over in the Archer lot and still do it in a way that's going to represent all community events well, represent the town of Long Grove well, as well as make the participants feel like, you know, we did our job and kept our promise of keeping a socially distanced event.
Does that answer the questions?
So what am I hearing is, yeah, so it is gonna go back to ending in Archer lot?
If that's what you got, if we got that Oktoberfest, which I guess we weren't thinking about, we can make it happen in Archer safely. And when I say safely, what I mean is well spaced, so that way, you know, you're not having people who are arriving and people who are finishing kind of all in the same area. There's a lot of space there. We have a lot of barricades, a lot of cones to make it two totally separate spaces. And the thing that we find, particularly with the running community, that we don't find in other events is that we, you know, are organizing, is that just the high level of, I guess, involvement of the runners in making sure that the organization of the event goes well. Meaning, if we tell them, hey guys, the start is the start, and that's one separate area, and the finish is the finish, that's another separate area. And when we start the race, you go to the start. When you finish, and you exit out. You know, that's generally something that when we're involved in a lot of different organizations right now, you know, with, you know, how can we put these events on in a way that, you know, participants and cities and everyone's going to say, yes, these individual challenges are not mass events. And, you know, the overwhelming response has been the participants are so happy to have an event, they're going to abide by whatever rules we set in place, and there's going to be, no people moving from one place to another place where they shouldn't be. So, yeah, we'll keep it in the Archer lot. We'll do it that way, and I think that everyone will be very happy with the way that it looks.
Peter, is there a way to get some sort of clearance or approval from the sheriff's department regarding runners and cars on the same road?
Okay, yes. So thanks for asking that question. So this road we have always ran on in all of our events that we've done previously. So this is nothing different than what you guys have looked at in the past, and it's actually going to be a better case scenario than what you guys have looked at in the past, because of the fact that instead of having a mass group of runners moving one way in the one lane and then in the same lane returning the other way, when typically we would have 1,000 people, going out and back on that road over a 20-minute period, we're lengthening that out so that it's so spaced that it's going to be a way less density of runners on that road than there's ever been in the past. And then on top of that, this is on this particular weekend. It's in early October, so it's one of our lighter weekends of events. We can really put a hard line of cones down the center of that road also, if that's concerned. But then in terms of asking your question about the sheriff, is they're going to make work. And in any case, any sheriff or whatever, in any kind of town or jurisdiction or whatever, whatever they always say is whatever the town approves, we're going to make sure, it's just whatever they approve, it's our job to make sure it happens safely. So, that's kind of always going to be, from my experience, their position on that sort of thing. And they have always been at both ends of the road and everything like that. And we have signage at every single driveway along the route. We have signage along the route at the beginning and the end of that. So if anyone's pulling out of their driveway, there's signage put specifically at their particular driveway, notifying them of the situation that day, as well as the letters that we put out ahead of time, as well as the officers at either end of that particular road, just to control any public access.
So I would take from your response that it hasn't been discussed with Lake County Sheriff per se.
Well, like I said, is that this event happens in conjunction with the Lake County Sheriff. So, and what we have done here, what we're doing this year is no different than what we've done last year, right? The only thing is that it's safer because there's less runners on the road at one time. So I would say, of course, I don't want to speak for them, but of course they're okay with it because we've done this in a much higher density of runners in the past, here as well as other places in the county.
I have a question for you, Peter, and that is, are you going to cap this race to a maximum size?
Yeah, well, there's a window of time, right, that we've stated that we're going to utilize the road. So that window of time will only allow so many runners with the social distancing measures that we put in place, the time trial start, that we put in place, that really makes this more of an individual challenge than anything else. So yes, is the short answer. The long answer is kind of for the reasons that I just kind of put forward.
But you don't know what that is yet.
Yeah, it'll be roughly just under 1,000, probably somewhere around 900-ish.
Okay.
And that coupled with the social distancing accounts for the 4-hour duration. Is that correct on my part?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Yeah, I think that we can start. In any given hour, we're basically starting one person every 10 seconds. So, I believe that that's about 300 or so an hour, 3 hours, 900 people. And then we put in, what we do is we put in some buffers in there. So like if we're saying we're starting one person every 10 seconds, we don't actually have a person, and we sign people up for an exact start time. So you're signing up for 8:52, and you're expected to start at 8:52. But what we do then is we also allow some buffers in there, okay? We allow some buffers in there so that way if for some reason, someone shows up later, whatever, there's some buffer zones in there where, it doesn't mess up our system that we have in place. So that way, everything can remain, very socially distanced, and that there's, a lot of forethought that goes into the plan ahead of time. Because, we really feel a big responsibility to making sure that, our customers are very comfortable with what they're coming out to. Because if they're not, then why are they coming? Why are they signing up for our events?
Have you looked at the condition of Cuba Road recently? A brief answer would be fine. I'm concerned about the condition of Cuba. It may or may not be in the same condition in October as it is now, but I have to sometimes drive on the opposite side of the road that because Cuba has a lot of holes. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, it's not the most perfect road. It is in Chicago, and so I would say it's better than what they run the marathon down. And we do mark those things with cones.
Okay.
So, and Rita, the only point I want to make too, this is a modification to the already approved special event application. So that's what's different here. So
Okay.
just want to point that out. So,
I'm finished. I'm done. I don't have any more questions.
well, I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to
No,
point
no,
that
no.
out.
No, no, not at all. I'd like to have it. I'd like to have it available for the runners. You know, I think it's a positive thing. I'm just, the cars and runners concerns me, that's all.
Yep. Well, I know what you mean because I do run a little bit here and there. So yes. Yep. Well, is there any other comment for this to modify the already approved special event?
Just two questions,
Sure.
Bill. Not to belabor it, and I guess I don't know who it's for. Is there any health professional who has approved the distancing plan, or is this just a company deciding that every 10 seconds is the right thing to do? I mean, is there Lake County or anybody like that need to be involved in this decision?
This plan that we're putting forth, I can't say that it's been approved by Lake County, but I can say that it's already been approved by other health departments in other locations. So I don't know if that means anything to you guys, but it has been approved. By other health departments in other locations. So I don't know if that means it, but there you go.
I don't know if it means anything either. That's why I asked the question. I'm not sure. And my follow-up, sorry, I didn't know who jumped in there. I apologize for interrupting. And my other question is really to Betsy. What's our liability? What if 2 weeks later we've got 900 runners that are COVID positive? What's our liability? Is there any?
Well, you do have tort immunity for discretionary approvals of permits of this type. So I would say the liability risks are relatively minimal because of your tort immunity. But one thing you might consider doing both to protect public health and safety and to mitigate any potential risk would be to condition the approval on their compliance with the then applicable state and federal public health requirements or guidelines. We don't know what the world's going to be like in October. The guidelines may be somewhat different than they are today. So rather than trying to micromanage that, you might just condition your approval on compliance with the state requirements or recommendations that may be in effect at that time.
Would that just be state, or would we also want to get a Lake County Health Authority to put a stamp of approval on this thing?
I don't know that Lake County Department of Public Health has been doing that for local events, but the governor has been issuing executive orders that provide statewide guidance. I don't know if he will have one in effect come October or not. And the CDC has also been providing guidance, which is non-mandatory on local events of this type, at least at this stage, but there's been some public health guidance certainly that they've offered. So.
Okay, so you're saying conditional on keeping
Whatever
it in
the
accordance.
then applicable state and county laws or whatever regulations.
Sure,
Okay.
regulations, recommendations, whatever is appropriate. Mm-hmm.
Understood. Thank you very much.
Any other comments?
Can I just say just one quick thing there on that? And is that just one thing to remind you guys is that there would never be 900 people ever at any spot on the course at one time spread over 13 miles or, in one spot or in any spot or spread along the whole entire route. Just to reiterate that.
Thank you, Peter. Does anyone want to make a motion approving the modification here?
I would not, I don't want to approve the stump a lot change, but other than that,
Do you want to make the motion with, as suggested by Betsy, our Village Council? Or did we just?
No,
leave you?
because I actually don't. I actually don't know if that's necessary, but if that makes Chris happy, I'll ask him to move that. I did the math. If you run a 12-minute mile, every 10 seconds is a space of 73 feet. So people who run faster will be farther apart.
And
If I did the math.
I would say again, if you didn't get a chance to see the video that was submitted, I was totally skeptical until I watched their video. So it's possible, and they did do a nice job with the race that's on the video.
All right, so Chris,
So
do you want to
I
make
would-
the motion? Or does Ann want to make the motion? Whoever does. Okay, and it looks like you got the floor.
I'll move a roll call motion approving a modified special event application and temporary signage for the Prairie State races on October 3rd, with the change that it will remain finishing at Archer Lot.
Okay, moved by trustee Kritzmeyer, seconded by,
I'll second.
you were beat, so trustee Michaud seconded it. That's a roll call. Amy, are you there?
Trustee Michaud?
Aye.
Trustee Michaud?
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor?
Aye.
Trustee Nora?
Aye.
Trustee O'Reilly?
She's not here, I guess.
Oh, she's not here at the back yet. Okay. Trustee Kritzmeyer?
Aye.
And Trustee Borowski?
Yes.
Okay, motion carried. All right, good luck, Peter.
Thank you, guys. Have a good day and have a good evening.
You as well.
Thank you.
All right, so then the only other thing is, do we want to go back to the Buffalo Creek now that we know that the race won't be ending there? Or is any questions are still unanswered?
I'm good.
The Buffalo Creek one, I had asked a question about the site map. It's a setup. I wasn't quite sure what it was indicating. Would we like to see that before we actually do approve it?
Well, Dave had an answer for that, Dave.
Yeah, it appears based on the aerials, and that there are some squares shown on that plan. Those are the planting islands. And there's some circles in the parking lot, and those line up with where the light standards are.
Well, then I'm confused what actually they're setting up, if that's actually the permanent fixtures already in the lot.
Those are permanent. I believe the event itself is on the brewery site. It shows a tent and some other ancillary improvements for the event.
Okay, then why did we get a map of Semple Lot?
That's their application. I couldn't answer that.
Well, no, every year this is the thing they do every year. They set those tents up out there, right? So that's what they're doing. So there will be tents out there with, if I recall correctly, there'll be other brewers that'll have their own tents out in front of the brewery.
Yeah, the one I had been to before had tables and tents and things like that. So I guess my question would be, I'd like to see a complete application.
Does everyone want to defer this until we get questions answered?
I'm good with that.
That's
Okay.
fine.
All right. I think anybody else?
That's fine.
All right.
No, I'm fine with deferring.
Okay. Chris, you're quiet, but I'm assuming that's yes. So,
Yeah, that's fine. They ought to submit complete applications. I agree.
okay. Great. Then what I'm going to do, I want to do one thing that I think will be simple. So we're going to defer that. So we're going to move on. We do have a presenter that'll be joining us here shortly, Rita Polko. But what I'd like to do, what I think is an easy one to get through, but maybe not, was since we discussed last week in a 4-to-1 vote this is item number 6, ordinance approving the front line side yard setback variation for attached garage at 3378 we voted to have the necessary documents written. And so I guess I would ask, if unless there wants to be discussion here, if somebody wants to make a roll call motion, because that's just a follow-up from what we agreed to at the last meeting.
So moved.
So it's
Second.
moved by trustee O'Connor, seconded by trustee Michaud. This is a roll call motion ordinance approving an ordinance granting a variation of the required front yard setback requirement of 100 feet down to 6 feet, and the east yard setback requirement from 50 feet down to 20 feet for the construction of a 50 by 36 detached accessory structure garage on the property commonly known as 3378 Old McHenry Road. So that was moved by what? Trustee O'Connor, seconded by trustee Michaud. Roll call.
Trustee Borowski,
No.
trustee Kritzmeyer,
Yes.
trustee Nora,
Yes.
trustee O'Connor,
Yes.
and trustee Michaud.
Yes.
All right, motion carried. If are we ready, Rita, for the Polco presentation?
I gave her 5-minute warning. Maybe we could do EDC first.
Okay. Who wants to? Do you want to give us the update, or Jenny? Were you able to join, or I was only there for the first half hour. We had our earnings call that I had to join. So
Yeah, I was unable to call because I was in a dead zone.
I sat in for Jenny, but I too was driving at high speeds, and so I didn't take notes. So if I could ask Mr. Sarlito, who was there, to summarize, that would be very helpful.
well, and let me correct that. You were driving the speed limit, but it was difficult for you to hear.
I believe
What I heard you say?
I was driving the speed limit, but the speed limit was
Okay.
75.
Oh, okay.
I also believe Roger's on the call, so I don't know if he said he was gonna give us an update too, so.
Yeah, he's here.
Okay.
Roger, do you want to give us the update, or does former trustee Sarletto want to do that? With emphasis on former.
Is Roger able to unmute himself?
Yeah,
He
he looks
is.
like he is.
Looks
Yeah.
like it.
As eloquent as former trustee Sarletto is, as long as I've sat around this long for this meeting, I'll just quickly go through this. It was a quick meeting, relatively. It was the usual hour and a half, but a positive meeting in the sense that most of what we did was talking about things that are in progress that we are doing or are about to do. We followed up with a meeting that was held between potential developer, the Swice Properties, that's looking at the CFI property, and Ron Lentz from Lake County Partners, and a couple of members of the EDC. It was a very good discussion for them with ideas floating, and Mike was there as well. And it was a good discussion for us in that we got a better feel of what the development landscape is like in Lake County nowadays. Same kind of thing. Erwin Steinberg is working on some mailing lists that are centered on local banks, local attorneys, local small businesses that maybe can provide leads or whatever, just bring them into the process. Mike Elliott's been working with Dave about a flow chart, and we're talking about some kind of inquiry into software that will pick up inquiries to the village about development and distribute those more widely and automatically. There was a discussion about what's going on with the pathways and grants for the pathways, something that a couple of members of the EDC have been very involved in, and that's made some great progress. So all that was really looking at works in progress. And then we did spend some time talking about having a work plan like the ordinance says we're supposed to. And I think we will have a work plan to present to the village by the next meeting. We've got some basic agreement on the parameters. So that's in a nutshell what my perception is happened this morning. I think it was positive.
There were a couple of other minor items. One was republishing need for additional commissioners.
Yes.
through either the bridge or your communications bill. I think several people had noted that they got in touch with EDC because of your article in the bridge that I think came out 6 months ago or whenever it was. So it might be time to
There
do
was
that again.
another one I thought in the last
Yep.
printed bridge, so
Yep.
too, so we'll do it again.
And some
Yeah.
additional, text related to the EDC.
Yep.
Second thing talked about was making sure there's certain skills that would be good to focus on and rounding out the balance of the board there. Marketing, sales, technology, and transportation were three key things that people seem to gravitate around. And lastly, and Rita's very, very excited about this, but doing showcasing particular businesses in the Long Grove area with a video interview, something that potentially we could link. And my understanding is now Web 2.0 has a microsite for the EDC, which is really good to hear. I didn't know that. But Mike is going to be working with Denise to round out that content as well. So getting a couple links, I think, to other content items, I think would be really a good benefit. And in the work plan, several things came up that have been on the agenda for quite some time, the welcome packet and a bunch of other things. So end of report.
Mike, can I?
Really a good meeting.
Yeah, Rita, I agree. I think some of your comments are really, really creative and very thoughtful. So thanks for that. But to what Mike just said a moment ago, I did have just kind of a question mark that popped up in my head when Denise was talking to the EDC about the microsite and just kind of giving access to the microsite to develop content. Two things struck me. One was that our intern is making that decision as to who would get access to our web, which I think may be a little bit, I don't know, optimistic. I don't know if that's the right word. But the other thing is, it would be nice to have a staff member that the board has full control over their future, to basically be the person who approves or denies or approves that content before it hits the website. So I have a little bit of a concern about giving authority that far downstream to develop content that would go live without proper channel approval. So I don't know if that's a Dave decision or if I stand alone in that concern. But to me, it just struck me as being a little bit aggressive in both an intern making that decision and also passing that authority to give live web content modifications downstream without board approval or review.
Dave, you want
just as a matter of process, Chris, that's a very good point. There has not been anything that's been added to our website or changed without first going through me. And if I had any questions about it, I certainly would bring it back to the village board. So that's something I'll talk to Denise about just to confirm that process.
Okay, thanks, Dave. Yeah, I appreciate it. Just want to make sure we don't publish something that we will regret later.
Hey, just to chime in, Mike Elliott's here. I just to clarify the intent here, I don't think there was ever an intent that I know Denise did mention she'd give me access to the microsite, but there was never an intention that I would create and publish content without multiple eyes seeing it and any approval. So that's not the intent. I think it was just an easier way that I was going to help assist with updating content, keeping it current on the EDC microsite, and absolutely, I wouldn't even volunteer to do that if it wasn't going to go through proper approvals. So just a clarification.
Thank you.
And this is Ann. I think that was a great point, Chris. I also would point out, I believe one of the selling points of going with that particular web approach and web vendor was so that we could have a microsite for EDC that could be very focused and in some cases even look a little different if it needs to, because it's got a much more targeted audience. But I think your point about basically governance of the site makes tons of sense.
It was the only reason why I voted yes back in the day. Oh, I mean, it's good that we're starting to use the detailed sheet, structure. So.
All right, end of report, right?
Yep.
Okay, good. So Trustee O'Connor, you have a guest that you invited, right?
I do.
And I don't know, you know, there, maybe you want to set it up at maybe 15 minutes, if, you know, Max, what do you think?
What do you think, Corey? Corey, you're muted.
Actually, I think I just unmuted myself. Can you hear
There
me?
you go.
There you go.
Sure, I can absolutely do 15 minutes. What I wanted to do is just kind of show you some communities that were using Polko, answer any questions that you might have, and just kind of talk about the process if that works.
Sure, and just to inform everybody who's here at the meeting, this lady is Corey Porst-Plash, who is the owner of a company that helps municipalities have dialogue with their residents, and only their residents, conducted electronically. And Corey, forgive me, I know you have a big background with villages, and if you could touch on that for everyone, that'd be fabulous. But Corey had an ad or an article written in the IML magazine a year or so ago, and I read it and was interested, gave her a call, and take it away, Corey.
Perfect. So as Rita mentioned, my name is Corey Porst-Plash. I actually live in Batavia, so I'm also an Illinois resident. We've got a Wisconsin company. I'm actually not the owner. I wish I was, but I do. My title is vice president, and I work with customers, so customer success. My background, actually, I started as a 911 dispatcher, and I worked both for Kane County and the city of DeKalb, and I also worked in the city manager's office at the city of DeKalb. I've got my MPA from Northern Illinois University. So I have got several years of frontline work in local government. What I always tell the city manager was I got the calls before he even knew about it. So I do appreciate everything that you do, because I know it's a really difficult job. With that, as Rita mentioned, we had put something into the IML about Polko. We work with communities literally all over the country. And what we do is that we are an online community engagement software. A lot of times, if you think about our residents, when I was working in DeKalb, I was the deputy liquor commissioner in a college town, which meant that everybody had an opinion and none of them were the same. So being able to know that we were listening to people that were really in our community was really important, and we didn't have tools like this back then. So that's why I work here, is because I really am passionate about what we do. With that, one of the fun things I'd like to do is just kind of show you what some communities have done with Polko, what kinds of questions they are asking. Is it possible for me to be able to share my screen that is disabled right now?
Bill's working on it.
Okay, great, thanks.
Sorry.
Oh no, all good. We actually posted a.
I think make a co-host right now, right? We'll make that work.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. All right, let's see what happens. Can you present?
Oh, there we go. Perfect.
Mike, you'd be proud.
So I'm going to go ahead then real quick and talk about some of our clients. And I've kind of chosen a variety of clients. One of the things I was mindful of was it doesn't really do a lot of good to be showing you communities that are, 150,000 people, because that's not who Long Grove is. So I've specifically chosen some communities that are roughly 25,000 or under. This one in particular, this is Bar Harbor, Maine, which is on the coast. It's actually only got about 2,500 residents, and they use Polko. Polko can be used to explore all sorts of issues. And Bar Harbor has been one of our great ones for really looking at some more controversial ones. They've done things, this one, they're actually asking about marijuana, which, as we all know, has been a very hot topic in Illinois over the last couple of years, to try and figure out how to create some legislation. So if you look, they actually go through and you can see some of the questions that they have. Now, these are the results that you are seeing. This is the way that it is displayed. We've got charts and things to make it a little bit easier to go ahead and look at those results. One of the things that Rita mentioned was the need to make sure that you're actually able to see from people in your community. So for example, we can go through and look at this. We can see, and forgive me because we can actually see on the map who is responding. We can actually go through and we can look at in Bar Harbor, who is in different precincts. So you are actually able to go ahead and do it. So let's talk a little bit about how Polka works. So you would go ahead, and what Bar Harbor did in this case is that they went ahead and they sent out a survey and said, we want to ask your questions about these things. They sent it out through social media, newsletters, however it is that a community communicates with their residents. That's how you would use Polko, to push out and let them know, we have questions available for you to answer. Once they answer questions, they're asked to create an account, which is with their email address and their zip code. With that, then, we're able to go ahead and to, the next time you have a question, we use that email address, and the only reason we ever use that email address is to go ahead and to send them an email saying, your community's got more questions for you. That zip code helps us to verify and make sure that they're in your community. Some of the questions that we get sometimes is, well, what happens if people want to stuff the ballot box? By having them create an account, that happens very rarely. Not only that, but we also kind of look on the back end for things like fraud to make sure that we're not getting a lot of responses from outside of the area. I pulled up several here as one I was going to talk about. This is a good example of this. So this is Bryan, Texas. And they're a little bit larger, but they have a very interesting survey that they did just a couple of weeks ago. They went ahead and they asked a question. When you use Polko, you can go ahead and see how many people are participating. This is participation if you look at this, and again, this is not usual, but I wanted to point out because it's an interesting way to show exactly how Polko can be used. They had over 3,000 responses, 3,600 responses in 24 hours. They actually shut down the survey because they had gotten so much information that they decided, and they had so much information they actually made a decision, and so they didn't want to continue to have it up there. What the survey was, and let me show you this too. You can see who is responding. So you can check and see, is this representative of our community? So they went through, and their question was, they wanted to know if what their thoughts were on masks. And again, Texas, COVID obviously has been a huge point of contention. So this is what the survey actually looked like. Should the city institute a mask requirement? Yes or no? Should they enforce financial penalties on businesses whose customers do not wear masks? So they had 4 questions total, all yes, no. So the interesting thing that happened with this was their local news media picked it up and actually advertised the link. We are really happy to see growth. We actually were a little surprised. We had never had a situation before where we had, again, over 3,600 responses in one day. We were actually starting to look at that on the back end and say, okay, who are we hearing from? Are we really hearing from residents of Bryan, Texas? We're able to see based on IP addresses and some other things. We're able to see if there had been somebody, for example, from Illinois who had been responding. We would have been able to see that. And what we found is that it really was residents of Bryan, Texas who were responding. It was again, wearing masks and stuff, and also asking, should businesses who don't do it be penalized? It was pretty controversial, but this gave them the information that they needed to see where their residents were at. So if you look, they were able to see that they were feeling pretty strongly about wearing masks, even to the point that they wanted to go ahead and enforce penalties. So that is an example of just some of the things that you could do. One of the things with Polko, and I know I'm preaching to the choir here, in that it is a really difficult environment right now between everything that's going on with COVID and all the rest of that. and we're trying to help. One of the things that we do is that we go through and monthly, we publish a survey that is available to you at no cost, that you can edit, add things to, subtract things from, and send it out to your community. A little bit of background, Polko is a 5-year-old startup. We bought a 30-year-old survey company about a year ago. And so we've literally got 30 years of survey expertise now that we're able to use. And so we can go through and have surveys like this that are available. And these are, questions like, how knowledgeable are you about this? Rate your knowledge. What types of information do you want to have? These are things that are available to our clients because we want to do what we can to help you communicate with your community. We also did one recently for equity and inclusion. This is, and I just happened to pick some communities I knew were doing this. Wanakee actually is in Wisconsin. That was actually one of them. They asked us, actually, could you do this? Because we want to hear from our residents. You're able to see they've had, survey is still open right now. They've got 437 responses. So they're able to really get a handle on what their residents think. And there can be some tough questions in there. But what Wanakee decided that they want to do is they really wanted to hear. So they, and again, these were questions that we developed. They could choose to use them or not. You don't have to use them entirely. But they wanted to know things like, do the residents feel that Wanakee does a good job of making residents feel welcome, helping them feel connected and integrated? It's an opportunity to really go through and to be able to hear from your community. We can also use them for just some pretty simple stuff. And this obviously was pre-COVID, but this was what I thought was fun. Oshkosh is like, hey, we want to book a band. Help us figure out who we should have for our summer concert series. So you can do anything with Polko from exploring some more difficult topics to doing some that are a little bit lighter, but that your residents have got some opinions on. So with that, being mindful of time, I want to go ahead and stop and ask if you have any questions.
One I have is, we are a multi-town zip code.
Yep.
60047 is Long Grove, Killdeer, Lake Zurich. So how would that work insofar as signing up and using a zip code?
Sure. So the first time that they come in, they're going to be asked for their email address and their zip code. After they come in to answer more questions, they will actually be asked for more information, including their name. That will be the next thing they'll be asked for on a future survey. Once we have their name and their zip code, we can actually verify against voter registration records.
I see.
So you can tell for sure then whether or not they are in your community, and you can actually tell the voting district that they're from. Now, again, it doesn't happen in that first survey, but it does happen in other surveys. Something that makes us unique, and is actually a brand new thing that we have, is you can actually ask custom questions and use that to filter responses going forward. So I'm going to give an example. We work with a organization, it's a nonprofit that works with LGBTQ in the Bay Area. And so they wanted to go through and ask about sexual identity and be able to filter by that going forward. They only have to ask that question once. We will go ahead and attach the answer to that account, to that user account, and then they will be able to, going forward, be able to filter all of their responses by sexual identity without having to ask that question again. So we both access outside data, but we can also collect data that your community may be particularly interested in. Do you live north or south of this particular area, or something like that? We can go ahead. What is this? You can go ahead and pick out specific demographic areas or questions that you may want to have answered, and you will always be able to filter by that on Polko.
That just brings up a question for me, and I had another one already prepared. the one you just brought up is, can you talk about, protecting the privacy of anybody who responds to that? And my other question was, in the information that we had to preview, you talked about, or it mentioned something about specific techniques for senior engagement, and I'd like to hear more about that, please.
Sure, absolutely. So the first thing, we are actually founded by 2 Air Force veterans, one of which has got a background in cybersecurity. I'll be happy to actually forward to everyone a link to our privacy policy. But in a nutshell, what it is we will never, for any reason, give out any information. Anybody who responds on Polko, their information is always confidential. So we will not, one of the reasons why residents enjoy using Polko is because they know they are anonymous. That nobody's ever going to know that Betty June, who lives over on Maple Avenue, thinks that such and such is a bad idea. We will never sell that information. We will never it will never be released for any reason other than to go ahead and to provide these results in a way that is anonymous. And I'm sorry, what was the second question? Oh, seniors.
Senior engagement, yeah.
Yeah. So, it is really funny. We're in Oshkosh, and let me go ahead and pull this up real quick. Oshkosh is actually pretty representative. So they've been with us for a couple of years. They've been growing steadily. One of the things, if you look at this, we get information. They have people responding to surveys on a regular basis for over 80. In 60s, 70s, they also have people participating down at the lower end, people who are 18 to 29. When we're talking about this, there are a lot of ways to make sure to engage in your senior community. One of them is a lot of times when we're sending out things, especially with Facebook, a lot of times our senior citizens are on Facebook because that's where the pictures of their grandchildren are. And if they know that this is the way that you're getting information, our platform is mobile responsive. So it's very easy for them to take surveys on Polko, and it's an easy way for them to be able to respond. So a lot of that is just education, and I can help you with that. But it would be education by your community saying, we want to hear from you, and we understand that it can be difficult to come down. We're having board meetings or whatever. This is another way for you to give us input on things that are happening in our community.
Thank you.
I'll ask the big question, how much?
So we actually just went through and we did our tiers. So you can go through and you could actually have a free Polko profile, which I will tell you is not going to give you a lot of the information that you're seeing here. To have the kinds of information that you're seeing here, it's $119 for a year. If you want to do some of our more custom things, like I talked about, being able to come up with your own demographic questions that you want to have attached to an account, that is $2,400 for a year. And it's an annual subscription. You can go ahead and, if you want to, you can cancel at any time, but you will always have access to your data. So your Polko account, you will always, even if, 5 years from now, you want to go back and look at it, you could always go back and see any of your past results.
Did you say $119 for a year?
I did.
She did. Dave, I have a question. I don't know if Bobby's back here, but I think we have something like 2,300 households in Long Grove. How many people are subscribing to the e-newsletter right now?
I think it's 1,500.
Okay. And that might not be households. That's more like people. But thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
If you've got a newsletter, though, that's a wonderful way to be able to let people know that you're asking questions on Polko. And it's a short URL, so it's an easy link for them.
Anything else? I mean, it was a great presentation. Rita, you were thinking that if we had a tool like this, that we could periodically run surveys such as, do we want to rename Robert Parker Coffin Road Long Grove Road? And we might get feedback.
Absolutely. And
it would be valid.
and cannabis and, everything else that we kick around. I would love to hear from the people we we never hear from. They have anonymity. We know they're our residents. For $119, I almost fell off my chair. It's like, I'll write the check. You know, it's like, I mean, to me, this is an incredible opportunity.
We probably should understand what we all get for that and what the different options are, because I'm sure there's some ups and extras.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so with the $119, I can actually show you exactly what you get. And I can go ahead and set up a profile. Just let me know who wants to be an admin on it. Again, because we do have this free option, so you aren't obligated to do anything, but at least that way you can kind of poke around. But the basic, with some of the things I've shown you, the age and the gender breakdowns, maps. When I talked about those surveys that we make available, that's available in our library. So in addition to the ones on COVID, we have got a whole bunch of other survey questions, because one of the most difficult things is asking questions that aren't biased and aren't leading. And so you can see how some of those questions can be done. That's part of the library. Guest responses is basically that it's anonymous. And then up to 3 administrators, and that's $119 a year. So for the 2388, it's, you get additional breakdowns other than just, you know, age and gender. Maybe you want to do renters versus homeowners, or something that is available from public data. That would be there. Up to 10 administrators, advanced survey creation. If you wanted to do skip logic or some things like that. A custom verification list. If you knew that you wanted to send this only to your business community, then you could go ahead and have a custom verification list, and that would be, they would only get, you could send a survey directly to them. That would be part of this 2388. And then you could do custom geographic area. So for example, if you wanted to go ahead and be able to see what homeowners association somebody was in, and you gave us shape masks, shape files of that, then we could go ahead and do that. Or if you wanted to break something up by, you know, some other type of district, those are options available as well. And then kind of to the right, we also do things, if you've ever heard of the National Community Survey, we do that, which is a benchmark survey comparing you against communities in Illinois and around the nation, where you know with high confidence level, this is what our residents think. And that's the performance plan. And then if you want something custom, we talk to you about that.
All right. Maybe we can wrap it up. And Corey, before you go, maybe you could stop sharing, because I'm not sure I can disable that, but that would be awesome. Is this a good stopping point, Rita? You know, I'm sure you're going to send us some information and we can sign up for the trial thing to get started, right?
What have we got to lose? What are Chris and Chuck, Jenny, what are your thoughts on it?
For $119, I think we should do it. It looks great. Honestly, I don't think we need above the 119 to start, but I think the free plan's probably not worth playing with.
I think for 119, it sounds like a great way to start. We can go from there, but I would love to hear what more people think.
I would love to hear what more people think and know that it's not vote early, vote often. I think that would be really valuable. I could see us moving beyond the 119 level pretty quickly, but I could also see it being really valuable too.
Yeah, I don't know if you have to decide that tonight, right? So.
No.
I was just curious. I think it's a fabulous opportunity.
And it's something that, go ahead, I'm sorry.
I was saying, just to be clear, it's not that you're locked in. So if you decide that you want to go at the 119 and then after a month you decide, you know, we really want to go with the 238, we'll just prorate it. So that's easy. You guys can use this in the way that makes the most sense for you.
I could just see it becoming where all of a sudden we have more questions and then it becomes the kid in the candy store and we want to ask them in a more nuanced way.
It'll never happen with this board. What are you talking about? Never.
Exactly.
No, but I think we're at a good stopping point, and I don't know if you have to make that decision. I think get the information and then circulate it back to the board. And I mean, it's not even one of those things. If you start with the 119, you don't even really need board approval. That's something that Dave could do too to get it started, right? So you know, I don't think anyone will object to getting it started either. I haven't heard anyone that said no. So why don't we stop there if that's okay?
Thank you so much, Corey.
Thank you, Corey.
Yes, thank you. That was excellent.
Thank you. It was
Thanks.
a very nice presentation.
Thanks, Corey.
Thank you so much. If you've got any more questions, certainly let me know. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and set up the account and I'll make Rita an administrator on it, and she can, let me know if you need any resources.
Well, I could spell Dave's name for you, but I'll send that in an email.
Yeah, that's great. Whoever you want, and I'm happy to open up to more administrators just to give more of you a chance to kind of look and see what is there. I mean, because it's a platform, most of the information is online. But
Sure.
I'm happy to go ahead and let you guys poke around and see what you think.
Super. Thank you so
Okay,
much.
so now Chris does have a question. When you said that, what does that mean? Do the rest of us get to see data or just the 3 administrators?
Or you're muted.
No, I didn't think I was, but so 3 administrators, they're the only 3 who get to see data, or what's the deal? I don't quite understand what that comment meant.
So what an administrator can do is an administrator is somebody who can go ahead and can see, so you actually see the data live. So they would have access to be able to see the data live. You can always go through, you can download reports. It's not that the data is necessarily hidden, but it's just how many people do you want to have in there creating questions and all the rest of that. Normally what happens is that just for kind of the flow of it, you don't necessarily want to have 12 questions all being asked on the same day and not ask anything for 6 months. So normally you've got, 1 to 3 people who are the administrators, where they're the ones who are actually setting it up, all of the rest of that. If you want to have more people, something that we don't have yet, but is coming soon, is we will have view-only access. And so if, for example, there was an elected board who wanted to be able to see results as they came in, but didn't want to, be entering surveys or something, that is functionality that is coming very soon.
Thank you.
All right. I'm going to keep us moving. Thank you, Corey. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So Village Planner Hoag, are you able to speak? Jim?
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you help me set up this next item?
Sure.
Which is the request for referral to the Plan Commission for Phillips Estates subdivision on Cuba Road?
Yes. The property consists of almost 35 acres, is presently zoned R1 PUD, and was approved as the Canterbury Park PUD. That property is vacant. The approvals that allowed it to be Canterbury Park were granted in 2008, and that was for 12 single-family homes on the property. They were going to be serviced by a communal septic system and private wells. The property has remained vacant since those approvals. The applicant has noted that due to the configuration and the lot sizes, the property is no longer marketable, and they're asking for reclassification to the R2 PUD district and preliminary PUD plan and plat approval with a density bonus. They're asking for 19 lots to be placed on the property instead of the 12 that were previously approved. They would be serviced by a private water system and public sanitary sewer. It would be known as the Phillips Estates PUD. Proposed lot sizes will range from 40,000 to about 54,500 square feet, with an average lot size of 44,271 square feet, which is just slightly over an acre. The setbacks will conform to those established for the R2 district. They're not asking for any reduction in setbacks. As a side note, per the existing PUD regulations, minimum lot sizes of 33,000 feet could be considered. You're looking at an overall site density of about 1.8 acres per lot. The developed area will comprise about 20 acres. Common open space will be about 15 acres. It's distributed, in my opinion, nicely through the site. There will be a scenic corridor along Cuba Road and Conservancy stormwater detention ponds as outlots within the development. Access would be off of Cuba Road to the south with private internal roads. Those would be, again, as an outlot. That would be outlot C. They're proposing a secondary emergency access to Cuba Road between lots 3 and 4, which would be kind of a what is called grasscrete. It's not a real road. Grass is allowed to grow up through it, but there'd be a pathway on there, but emergency vehicles could also access it, or if residents needed a second means of ingress, egress, they could also be utilized for that purpose. There will be pathways in the development, pathways along the west side of the development in the open space, and pathways along Cuba Road, partially in our right-of-way of Cuba Road, that would go to Deerwood Drive on the west and connect up with Herons Creek on the east. This does require a map amendment, and map amendments are at the discretion of the village board. You're not approving anything tonight. The only action you would be taking would be to refer this amendment to the Planning Commission for further consideration. And if you have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thanks, Jim. I appreciate you setting that up for us. That was very helpful. Now, before I turn it over to the board, I don't know if Betsy, if you wanted to say a few words or not. There were some conversations that, you know, we got some email chatter on, so I don't know if you wanted to comment on any of that.
I mean, I guess only to say that the issue before the board tonight, as Jim said, is just whether or not to refer the map amendment question. So the particulars of the design of the subdivision would be determined through the public hearing process and engineering review, and would ultimately come back to the board for further consideration and consideration of approval at a later time. Only the map amendment aspect of this application requires a board referral. So that's just the question of whether this property, which is currently zoned R1, would be appropriate to zone R2. So that's really the narrow issue that we're considering. The emails you're referencing, there have been some questions about the utility service to the property, the connection to the private water system from the neighboring subdivision, and the sewer system, and the easements that would be required for that. To be frank, many of those are private issues between the landowners, and to the extent they relate to the zoning at all, it would be with respect to the ultimate design and engineering of that PUD subdivision, which is, again, something that will ultimately come back to the village board once those issues have been vetted out and more developed. But a lot of the questions that have been raised are things that we're just not in a position to assess right now, but will be able to be addressed through the engineering review and the public hearing process. I would encourage the board to focus on the question of whether it's appropriate to consider rezoning this property into the R2 district, and to try to set aside some of those other issues until they've been able to be developed and vetted appropriately and reviewed by the engineer.
Thanks. Appreciate it, Village Attorney Gates. We appreciate that. Does anyone have any comments from the board or questions?
Two questions, a couple of questions. So based on what Attorney Gates just mentioned, why is it in the prescribed motion that we're already talking about 19 single-family lots since nothing's gone through the engineering or the review process? Why would we not just stay focused on R1 versus R2?
Well, we have an application, right, Jim? Village Planner?
Correct. You have
Yeah.
an application. As part of that application, they're asking for reclassification to the 19 lots, and that requires referral to the Planning Commission. Whether 19 lots ultimately gets approved, that again needs to be vetted out through the public hearing process, and go from there.
And what's the justification for the requested density bonus?
Well, they have a lot of open space. They're asking for pathways. Again, the open space is well distributed throughout the subdivision. In my opinion, much better than the current configuration, which is, I will say, rather strange. I think this is a much more orderly development that they're proposing. I think there's maybe 2 or 3 lots that actually don't abut permanent open space, and I personally think that's part of a good design. We are getting pathways out of it. We will have a pathway connection that will ultimately get into Herons Creek. Again, I think that's a bonus, but that's just my opinion, and that all needs to go through public hearing process. Without the referral, we don't go any further.
And the Herrings Creek pathway connection goes to where?
That would get access up into the pathway system that is part of Herons Creek, ultimately. It's a very good segment along Cuba Road where we don't have a lot of pathways that could provide access to the Forest Reserve property in the long run.
So are you saying that the public would be able to use that from Herons Creek?
Yes. Typically when we have pathways like that as part of the approval process, the pathways are made accessible to the general public and not just for the residents of the subdivision.
Jim, is the 2007 R1 PUD terminated at this time? Because
No, that plat has actually been recorded, and they would need to come in and essentially vacate that plat, and then the new plan plat that they're proposing would be substituted, I guess you could say, or re-recorded over that previous approval.
But that's R1 PUD.
Correct.
And they're requesting R2 PUD.
Correct.
The difference is the higher density of the R2?
Correct. It's very similar to the Glenstone subdivision that's across the street.
Yes.
Lot sizes are very similar. Open space is very similar. One of the main differences between what's being proposed in Glenstone is that Glenstone has easements for access that go over private property. With the more modern developments that we've looked at, we found out that it works better if the roadways are actually contained within an outlet rather than being an easement over private property. I think if you subtracted out that roadway area from the lot sizes, you'd find that they are very compatible in terms of the lot sizes and the overall site density.
Whenever I'm in Glenstone, I always feel like I'm in a closet because the streets are so narrow and the density is so great.
It actually fits in with the R2 PUD density very well. In looking at the plats before the meeting that we have on file, there was actually another phase that was being considered for that, and that never got developed. That would have been to the north and the west of what currently exists, I believe, Nottingham Drive.
Yes. Oh, they were going to go. Oh, okay. But
to the north and to the west.
This butts up to the former Route 53 proposed route.
Correct.
And I find it interesting that they say, oh, these lots are no longer saleable, marketable. And it's like, well, they're more marketable now than they were 3 years ago because of 53. So I don't understand that thinking.
I don't believe that it was Route 53 that led to the marketability issues. It's the lot size and the way that they're configured on the property. The current owner has owned the property since 2001. It's my understanding they have tried to market it in its current configuration with no success, and that is factored into why they're asking for the change in zoning.
I see. And this would be, you know, the average lot size, it really is based upon density. The ratio creates the lot size. It's not really 33,000 square foot lot, correct?
They're asking for above that. They would have nothing less than, well, the average lot size would be about 44,271, which is just over an acre. Lot sizes would range from 40,159 to 54,596. An acre is
43,560.
Yeah, right, exactly. So they're just a little over an acre.
So that's
and you have 20 acres that are going to remain as open space. Well, 15.5 acres, excuse me, that will remain as open space.
So those are actual acres. It's not, we're going to take the whole thing and divide it by 12 and say we have this density. You're saying these lots would be close to acre and in some instances over real acres. Is that
Well,
correct?
if you look at the overall site density, where you take in the open space
Mhm.
along with the lot sizes that are being proposed, you're looking at about 1.8 acres per lot for
Yeah.
overall site density. The lot sizes will be smaller, but in a PUD, we average the open space along with the
Right.
lots that are proposed to give an overall site density.
Right. So what would be the actual size of smallest to largest actual measurement lot?
The smallest lot as proposed would be 40,159 square feet. The
Okay.
largest lot as proposed would be 54,596 square feet.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
And when you look at the average of the lots that they're proposing, the average lot size would be about 44,271, which is just slightly over an acre.
Got it. Okay. Thank you.
Other questions?
I have another one. When does stormwater management come in? No, that's.
I don't understand your question. They will have to abide by the stormwater management regulations that are established by Lake County. And that will be part of the engineering review and the engineering submittal that they need to submit and comply with.
Hey, Mike, I see your hand raised. Former trustee Sarletto, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just had a question. Is the pathway conditioned on a successful R1 to R2 rezoning?
Well, I don't know what you mean by condition. The pathway
Meaning the pathway is part of the negotiation of R1 to R2 rezoning?
Oh, the pathway
When
connection?
we met with
The
the
hearings?
applicants, we discussed pathways and indicated that they're a very desirable element to a development such as this. So I guess you could say it was somewhat negotiated, but the pathway plan that they had put in is part of the R1 to R2 proposal. If this referral was not granted, then the pathway system as proposed would revert back to what is part of Canterbury Estates.
It sounds like that could be direction we give if we refer this to the Planning Commission.
You're saying that you would like to see the pathways in as part of the referral?
I guess the referral is really a straight up, do we want to refer it for the Plan Commission to consider a map amendment that is from R1 to R2?
Correct.
That said, the Plan Commission, that's the narrow question here, but then the Plan Commission in their evaluation of the whole shebang, at least previously, they've appreciated any direction we can give them about where our heads are. And so my point is that our heads are at valuing pathways.
Mm-hmm. I think that, yes, that's an accurate statement. Something that will be considered. Part of the public hearing process, of course, is public input, and that often has a big effect, a big outcome on the vote that comes from the Planning Commission.
So any other comments at this point?
Well, I guess I want to piggyback on what Ann just said. I think Plan Commission does ask us a lot for direction, and here we're asking for a zoning change and a bonus density adjustment. And for me, I'm not sure I'm overly concerned about the zoning change, given the premise that the lot sizes are large. But so far, I haven't heard any compelling reason why to grant a density bonus. And I think Ann's direction to Jim, or maybe Dave, I'm not sure who we're giving direction to right now, is to make sure that if we grant or come back to us with a bonus density request down the road, that it better be damn well justified. That's my point. That's my question or point. I don't know. So whoever takes that responsibility. There you have it. I mean, somebody told Plan Commission to make their diligence and don't come back here with a proposal that doesn't really justify why we're granting a density on top of a zoning change. Or density bonus on top of a zoning change.
Just as a point of clarification, if they went with a straight R2 zoning, they would be entitled to about 17 and a half lots. The density bonus gets them about another 2.5 lots.
Thank you.
So that's really the difference you're looking at with the density bonus from 17 to 19, 2 lots.
Yeah, thanks for that clarification, but I've already done that math. Thank you.
Okay.
And hence the question. I mean, it's still a couple lot added bonus density, right? Density bonus.
It sounds like it would look more, it would look less dense than Glenstone. Would that be an accurate statement, Jim?
Yes, it would be. Glenstone, I believe there's 24 lots that are in there, and it would be slightly more dense. They're very compatible, Rita. Glenstone has a little bit more property. When I looked at it, I'm going to say it's roughly like 40 acres. They're looking at 35. But really, the lot sizes and everything are pretty much compatible with what's right across the street.
I see.
And Jim, this is common well or individual well? I'm sorry, you may have said that.
They're asking for, there would be an agreement with Glenstone
Okay.
to have their water system extended to provide a private water system, kind of like you see in Briarcrest. It would be a private water system and sanitary sewer through Lake County.
Thank you. Yeah, I know you said that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Could somebody tell me exactly what a map amendment is?
There's two parts to your zoning ordinance. There's the text, which is Title V of the Village Code, and then there's the zoning map that you update and approve every year in March. This is what's called a map amendment because you're changing the classification of the property as laid out on that map that you approve. And then the other thing that we often see are text amendments, which is where they're asking for a change to Title V of the Village Code.
Thank you.
So I think that there's been a lot of discussion here. I know that pathways are key. That connection to Herons Creek is very key, in my opinion. So, I don't know if anyone has any other comments or somebody wants to make a motion to refer this or not. So I'll leave it up to you all.
I would move. I think that the Plan Commission should take a look at this. I think that that's a better place for it to have its next step versus just us making it anything or us letting it die on the vine. So I would move that we refer the Plan Commission and Zoning Board of Appeals this application. Not approving the application, we're just approving the referral. So we're referring that application for reclassification from R1 PUD 12 lots to R2 PUD 19 lot, single family lots, averaging all of this. And this is the property commonly known as Phillip Estate subdivision on the south side of Cuba Road of Glenstone and east of Deerwood Estates. So all we're doing is referring it to the Plan Commission to chew on it.
Correct.
Are we locking in on this 19 single lots versus just R2?
I don't think
whatever?
so.
Okay.
Well, that's part of the proposal. That's why it's written up that way. Whether it shakes out that way through the public hearing process remains to be seen.
So it's their application is asking for George. So we're naming the application the way they named it.
Correct.
Okay, that was moved by Trustee Kritzmeyer, seconded by Trustee Nora. Amy, that's a roll call.
All right. Let's see. Trustee Michaud.
Can you come back to me? My whole system knocked down and I missed a huge chunk of this conversation. So I kind of want to know where other people are falling on this. So can you come back?
Yep. Trustee O'Connor.
I'm a sucker for pathways. I'll second. I'd like to see where we can take this.
So it's aye, right? Yep.
Sorry, aye.
Trustee Nora?
Yes.
Trustee Kritzmeyer,
Yes.
Trustee Borowski,
Yes.
and back to Trustee Micho.
I'm going to go with a yes.
Is that your final answer?
That's my final answer.
Never mind.
Jenny, if you want to catch up, call me tomorrow.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I was trying to wave it, but yeah. Anyway, thank you. Sorry, I missed that.
And I hear congratulations are in order for the Minnesota House.
Yes, thank you. It was
Congrats.
a success. Thanks. Bye.
All right. Well, motion carried, and we'll have to hear about that later. But yes. So, all right. So moving right along, this is continued consideration of resolution approving the amended sexual harassment policy. There were some revisions made or recommended by Trustee Kritzmeyer. I don't know if, Ann, if you want to share anything, or did everyone have an opportunity to look at it? And are there any questions?
I could set up as I did last time, I explained that the changes that I had requested were a couple of different areas. Number one, making it really clear that whoever is reporting feels safe to do so, and especially if there's a superior, a supervisor involved, that they don't have to confront that person. The original writing was such that it was like they should directly confront and explain that this is unwelcome. That's not how a good policy works, in my opinion. So it needed to create additional reporting opportunities that could still be anonymous. A good policy needs to be, people need to feel it's taken seriously, that they can be, have their story protected as much as possible, and that, it's safe, that there won't be retaliation. So those were some of the tweaks that I had requested, and you saw that in the red line. The other thing is, given both the state requiring that we have to have this and have everybody look at it every year, I wanted to put in the policy the mechanism for making sure that it needs to be reviewed, and everybody who is affected by it has to affirm that we review it. So those were kind of the main points I was asking for.
Any other discussion at this point? Or does somebody want to make a motion to approve?
So moved.
Okay, moved by Trustee Micho, seconded by
Second.
By Trustee Kritzmeyer, seconded by Trustee Kritzmeyer. That's a roll call.
Trustee Borowski,
Yes.
Trustee Kritzmeyer,
Yes.
Trustee Nora,
Yes.
Trustee O'Connor,
Yes.
and Trustee Micho.
Yes, and I just wanted to thank you, Anne. I really appreciated your comments.
Okay, motion carried. Thank you, Ann. The next one may be easy, but maybe not. There's the man playing chess. He's going to be put back on a bench by Towner Green. I hope that he's safe there. And we had to get an easement in place. So I believe that, what is it, a 10-year easement? What was the dollar amount in consideration? $10 or something we're paying for it, right? And then we have to cut the grass around it.
Yeah,
$10 plus maintenance.
effectively, there's no cost for the easement. The $10 is sort of a recited consideration. So I believe the easement's being donated, but the village would be responsible for maintaining the area around the statue and the statue itself. And if there's any disturbance to the property with the installation or any repair, that you restore that disturbance.
Great. No, thanks for that clarification. This has been a fixture in our downtown for how long? I don't even know. So, but it was moved because of the construction and the sidewalks and everything. So, but unless anyone has any concerns, I would look for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee O'Connor, seconded by Trustee Micho. This is a roll call motion, COVID-19, or I don't have to read that part, approving a resolution, approving an easement agreement for the installation and display of artwork, Man Playing Chess, on Towner Green, located at 130 Old McHenry Road.
Trustee Michelle?
Aye.
Trustee O'Connor?
Aye.
Trustee Nora?
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer?
Aye.
And Trustee Borowski?
Yes.
All right, motion carried. Moving right along, we had the community engagement discussion with Polco. So the only thing that I wanted to touch on under my report, and I'll turn it over to you all if there's any other reports from the trustees. But, you know, I wanted to try to have a meeting in public, and Dave did some research, and I think right now, you know, the place that seemed like the safest was the Village Hall in Mundelein, but that's probably too far away. And with everything going on with COVID increasing right now, my recommendation is we continue to stay virtual, at least for the moment. And if things change, then we'll look at perhaps a site to have it. I mean, our Village Hall is definitely not safe, too small. And for now, I think we're going to keep it virtual. Does anyone have any concerns with that?
No, I think it's the right thing to do.
I'm good.
Yeah.
I concur.
Okay, and we'll keep it that way. I really wanted to get us together because I think this is so hard, and I want to, let me out, let me out, let me out. This is crazy. That's the way I feel. But anyways, all right, I'll stay in my little jar here. Any other any other comment, trustee comment?
I have one. I just wanted to report that I spent an hour talking with Dan Berg from Sikich and Lindsay, can't remember her last name, who is the senior person from the new audit team. They've gone through, you know, their preliminary gathering kinds of stuff. They're going to they think they'll be able to do this almost entirely virtually. So that's kind of a good thing. We went through, I'm trying to find my notes. I can't put my hands on them, but from memory, I had asked things like, well, was there anything unusual or anything that they felt, you know, it was going to be a little more complex or anything like that. And they had some open questions, but I think what I heard were the things that we already know are somewhat unusual, like the way we've got the water system and the water business and the TIF, things going back and forth in there. But overall, they didn't see anything that was causing them concern. There's just things that were just a little bit more unusual or less unusual for a village our size. In the past, I've been asked questions from them on anything, do I ever suspect fraud? It's a bunch of prescribed questions that by, you know, auditing standards they need to ask. And I think that they tend to ask those also of Bill and or Dave. They indicated to me they'll probably be sending it to everybody on the board. So if you see that, don't be frightened. It's part of the process. It does not mean they suspect fraud. It means that they need to ask that and want everybody to be able to affirm and have an opportunity to speak up on that. So I know they want to set up a meeting at some point to try and get some knowledge out from between the ears of Vic. And so, Dave, I don't know if that's gotten set up. I asked if I could possibly be invited, but don't let my schedule be a bottleneck to getting that scheduled.
I'm not aware of anything having been set up, Ann, but I'll reach out to both Ann and Dan.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Dan and Vic.
Yeah, I mean, the question here, have you ever committed any fraud as defined above, which affects the village? I mean,
like I said, it does not mean
obviously I haven't, but it was just like, okay, well, is that a trick question? There's questions like that. So anyways.
I mean, if you were engaging in fraud, would you answer that correctly or honestly?
Well, I guess
it's a silly question.
If you're honest,
you do need to actually answer it, but yeah.
Yeah, but if you're honest, you wouldn't be engaging in fraud.
Yeah, good
Anyways.
point. Agreed. It's circular.
Upside down.
But I just wanted to know if, in fact, they send it to everybody, don't be alarmed. That does not mean that they actually suspect anything.
Thank you.
I didn't want to open up the file because I thought maybe I'd get a virus. So that's why I don't open anything from anyone I don't know. So.
Mm-hmm.
Will they be sending it to ex-trustees too?
No.
Wait,
Never
are you
mind.
available for consulting fees or what?
IOAN some questions for sure.
A week before my meeting with
Yes.
them, I did reach out to Mike and say, are there any questions
Yeah.
that you would have me pose? So it's not too late, but the first meeting has already occurred.
Thank you for bringing that up too. And I had it printed out to remind me and I didn't do it. So thank you, Ann. So anything else? No. Any other reports then?
I just have one thing that keeps coming up about the limestone piles that they are asking for our opinion about the limestone.
I think our opinion time is gone, but I don't know why
Okay.
it's still there. But
Okay.
Dave, you want to respond?
No, the limestone, we have 3 of them that were moved to the Village Hall property for future placement as a design feature. The rest are all stored out by the Covered Bridge Trail property and by the Historical Society property. And the question had to do with, we've got multiple people that are interested in using them primarily through downtown, but as it is village property, it could have ended up as fill for the project or, just disposed of. But we asked that they save them if they were structurally sound. There's a number of them. I forget the number, Jeff. I want to say it was like 19 of these large stones. And we don't want to just give it away. We want the board to be part of whatever decisions are made since it's village property.
Thank you for that, Dave.
Yeah, I thought it was already agreed upon that they were going to go to most of that was going to go to the park. Is that not the case then?
How big are they?
The park district did request them, Bill. There have not been any approvals granted because we wanted to get that direction from the board. We didn't want to make that decision ourselves.
Okay.
And Chris, in terms of the size,
yep,
they vary, but they are 2 feet high by 3 or 4 feet wide. If you can envision what the old limestone abutment walls look like, the section.
Sure. I looked under the bridge all the time.
I actually did. So
I bet you did. But hey, Dave, sorry, I couldn't resist. So, are these things? If we collected a group and put them like as an entrance monument or something like that to the village entrances, is that something that they're size right for that, or are they too small?
They're probably sized appropriately for that. It would be more, I think, a question of where do they go and maybe some safety concerns of putting something like that in the right of way. I defer to probably Jeff and Vic and Betsy on that one. But
about decorate a rock contest, just like we did with the bridges before, and
hey, can I just make one comment though? So there's 3 of them sitting in the Village Hall parking lot. We all haven't been there in a while, so if you want to see what they look like, there's 3 of them sitting there. Okay. And the thought process was we would take those 3 and make some kind of a monument out of it as part of the, maybe dedication to Robert Parker or something like that. But, we would put a plaque on it or something, and we haven't really figured it out. But that was 3 of them were put right by the Village Hall purposely to do something near the Village Hall.
Can we treat it like they treat art objects and loan them out to the park district in case maybe in 5 years, if the Triangle properties, if we could work it so that there's a plaza and a fountain there, they could be worked into something like that as an entrance to the village. We don't have to give everything away. We don't have to sell it. Maybe we just put it out on loan. Is that a possibility to just loan it out?
Well, I know that the park district and the downtown has specific plans for the use of them if the village will grant them. And I haven't seen the plan in a while now, but what I remember, there's a seating area, a round seating area that they have designed on the property. I think they also have incorporated some as steps coming from the park property up to Robert Parker Coffin Road, and they were, I think, going to use that to be the area where there'd be a plaque recognizing, not just the design of the parkland, but where those stones came from.
I see. And this is the the park on the north side of the bridge, not the HTLGBA park. It's being
No, it's the park on the south side. The Long Grove Park District owns both those properties, Rita.
Ah, okay. Okay, I got it.
Dave, could you share that plan, please? Oh, go ahead.
I sure can. I'll have to dig it up. I've got it somewhere in my files here.
Okay, so maybe the best thing to do is to share that plan, and then, if there's any objections to it, then let folks know. We can talk about it at the next board meeting, I guess. Does that work?
That sounds good. Thank you.
Yep, thanks for bringing it up. I kind of thought that it was already decided because I kept looking at it forever. Anything else from the board? If not, then I'd like to move to the approval of meeting minutes. We have the May 26th and the July 14th. Amy, I think you have the other one, but it didn't make it into the packet. Is that what I saw from your email? And I'm sorry I didn't respond.
It's okay. Yes, Dave does have that, but it's not on the agenda.
Well, we
So
have the
maybe
May
it would be on-
26th, the June 23rd, and the July 14th, but all we have are in the board packet are the May 26th and the July 14th meeting minutes.
We have June 9th.
Wait, June 9th, I think.
No, that's an executive. No, we're missing that. We don't. That's June 9th was previously approved. So yeah, I was
okay.
there, but it was previously approved.
Okay, so it was erroneously included in this week's or this
Correct.
this
Yeah,
meeting.
that's
Got
right.
it.
Yep.
Got it.
There was
Got
another
it.
little mistake there too. Yeah.
Got
So
it.
sorry. I unraveled it this weekend trying to figure out what I was looking at. So we have two, the one from the 14th, and then there's another one from the 26th. Any comments, or does anyone want to make a motion to approve them?
The
So moved.
26th, just to clarify, was that Bobby had wanted to see the changes that Vic had submitted. And so that's what was in red. Just to clarify.
Anyone okay with the minutes? Did you look at them, or is that what, Ann, you look like you're looking at them right now on the screen?
I'm looking at them. I looked at them on Sunday too. I don't have a problem with them.
So somebody want to make a motion to approve the meeting minutes from the May 26th and the July 14th board meetings, village board meetings?
So motion.
So moved.
Okay, so Trustee O'Connor moved it, and it's seconded by Trustee Kritzmeyer?
Sure.
Okay. Roll call? Everything's got to be roll call, right?
Trustee Borowski,
Yes.
Trustee Kritzmeyer,
Yes.
Trustee Nora,
So I was going to abstain on the July 14th because I wasn't here. So I don't know how to vote.
Just vote for only the one.
The 26th?
Yep.
Yeah, yay.
Okay, so
It's good.
I will separate these out then and show them as two different roll calls, one where he abstained and one where he eyed.
Approved, yes.
Correct. Okay. All right, Trustee O'Connor
Aye. Yes.
and Trustee Misha.
Aye.
Okay, so let me just clarify. Everyone is for both, except for Chuck is only, he's abstaining from the one from the 14th, but he's approving the one on the 26th.
Correct.
All right, motion's carried.
Okay.
Are we
and-
going to have an engineer report this week?
Yeah, let's do that. Well, can we do one thing really quick before we do that? Because it's getting late, and Jeff will let you go through the engineer report. Make sure there's no other public comment really at this point. Is there any other public comment? All right, then go ahead, maybe Jeff, just take us through a few highlights. Also, just tell us when that bridge is going to be done too, because I really want to know. And you're muted.
Yep. All right. I just unmuted myself. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
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 All right. So the village engineers report. I will start with the bridge. That is on everybody's mind, as it should be. Construction's moving along as planned. I would note that you probably noticed Carmichael Construction was not on site for a few days last week, and has not been there this week on the site here in the downtown. However, they've been fabricating and staining all of the siding pieces, so that way when they do get back on site, deliver those later this week, they can move right into putting those members up. There was some, I will note, there was some email correspondence over the weekend about the opening of the pedestrian height, and the contractor put the rough framing in there, and it was lower than was there before. Ironically, the rough framing that they had matched the 1972 plans. I met with Carmichael Construction this morning, and that can be revised since, as Carmichael said, it's wood and we have saws. But that can be modified. So what Carmichael is going to do is they are going to hang the plywood that they've cut for their mold at the pedestrian opening height. They're going to have that installed tomorrow morning. I'm going to confirm when that's installed and let Aaron, I don't know if he can hear us on the call. He was on the email exchange over the weekend, but definitely want to make sure that he knows where that has been installed to take a look. And any modifications or adjustments, we need to get to Carmichael Construction by the end of the week so that they can proceed with their construction. All leading up to the
Just hold on a second,
Carmichael
Aaron,
Construction.
Himself. If I could just,
Oh,
Aaron, did you
okay.
hear that?
Yeah, Jeff, I can go down tomorrow afternoon. I'll let Ryan know too. It was Ryan and I were the ones that were down there when we noticed something was kind of weird.
Yeah, I didn't think that you guys, lost a few inches over the last few months. So thank you for the emails. So like I was saying, all of that leading into Carmichael Construction is still targeting substantial completion of the bridge but a week from Friday, which is August 7th, and then cleaning up all the loose ends, if you will, and getting the final touches done by the following Friday, which would be the 14th.
So you think it'll really will be the 14th because the state has to give us permission to open it back up and everything. So that'll be when it will be.
Yes. So I have talked with Civil Tech, who is the village's National Bridge inspector, and he is going to be on site tomorrow. And he's been through the process of reopening a bridge before, and he's going to do his inspection and hold on to that until the date is officially confirmed, which should be here in the next couple days, and then he'll send his report. The bridge department, the bridge office at IDOT looks at that and confirms their report and opens it up on their system because as recognized by the state right now, that bridge is closed.
Yeah, just let me be a little cynical here. So we had the problem with the permitting, getting this whole thing started. So you think it'll be that simple?
So I have talked to Civil Tech many a times because the heartache of the permitting is definitely something I do not want to go through again.
Okay. All right. You're confident. There's nothing that should be done in advance or any conversations that should be had with the state. Civil Tech has it under
Right.
control. Okay.
Yep. Okay, so there's a lot of items in the engineer's report. One of the other items I would highlight, the 2020 road maintenance program. East Cuba Road has been resubmitted to IDOT for their approval. They are looking at that, and we're projecting a bid opening of August 6th. That was of the writing of the engineer's report. As IDOT hasn't approved that, I think that might slide a little bit, and that would put the recommendation, let me see, in front of the board, but it won't make the first meeting in August. It'll make the second meeting. So the recommendation will be before you August 25th. That still gives time to repave those roads. I'm saying that the construction needs to be done by October 15th. Long Grove and Killdeer are going in our joint program. It's always been the case that the work in Long Grove would be first, and that was from the bid earlier this year, and will remain the case through this bid.
Hey, Dave, did we get any feedback on the grant that we applied for too?
No, we have not. I left another message for our DCEO rep yesterday, and I have not gotten a return call yet. Been multiple inquiries to find out the status, at least to give us an idea when a decision would be made. And I don't have anything to report.
Thank you, Dave.
You're welcome.
One other item that I would like to highlight is Martin Estates and Martin Woods. Here a few meetings ago, the board approved hiring and retaining Huddleston McBride to do a drain tile survey, in essence updating and expanding their efforts from 2008. They completed their work last Monday, the 20th. I have not gotten the results from their investigative work yet. I have either in a report or a map form. I do expect that will be received later this week, and once that is received, we'll start taking a look and dissecting and evaluating the drainage over there and what improvements should be sought.
I can tell you there's an awful lot of pink flags throughout the entire subdivision. So they did a lot of work.
Yeah, and they did, and they were hopeful to get it done in one day, but they actually had to come back that following Monday, and they were finding more drain tiles than they found in 2008. Not sure what that necessarily means, but they were very thorough.
The only ones that worried me were when the pink flags kind of terminated in the middle of somebody's yard. That can't be good.
That's a great tile design.
Yeah, you see it tracking and like it's going to head to a ditch. It's gotta, right? And then it just stops. So there may be some issues.
So I'm curious what their map shows, and you know, if that's the case, why is it like that? Does it really stop? Is it, you know, can't trace it? You know, so all of those things and discussions will come. That's for sure.
Can you speak to why it takes over 5 weeks to get the report? They finished on June 20th, and today is July 28th.
July 20th. They finished July 20th. Did I say June?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, I apologize.
Okay. Okay.
They finished July 20th. You know, the board approved them to come out there. We gave them the notice that next day to put it in their schedule, and their first availability would be Friday the 17th is when they made it out on site.
Okay. Okay. Thanks.
If there's not any other questions, is that a good spot to stop, Jeff, at this point?
I believe so, yes.
Then if we could, then I guess we're at the point where we need to have a roll call motion to go into executive session, discuss threatened litigations, enforcement matters, investments, personnel matters, executive session meeting minutes, and acquisition and disposition of property.
So
Betsy,
moved.
did I get that right?
Yep, I think you did.
Good. So moved by trustee Nora,
Second.
seconded by trustee O'Connor. That is a roll call motion.
Trustee Michelle,
Aye.
trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
trustee Nora,
Aye.
trustee Kritzmeyer,
Aye.
and trustee Borowski.
Aye.
Okay, the ayes have it. Motion carried. So I'm going to now move us into breakout rooms and go into executive session. So
Good luck, all.
thank you.
Yep.
Take care, Mike.
Thank
Good to
you.
see
Thanks,
you.
Mike.
You bet.
Aye, Mike.
Bye-bye.
Good to see you, George.
Create room. I hope I got this right.
Yep. Something just came up.
All right, how do I get out of here? That's what I get for not walking.
Yeah, so I don't know what happened. I tried to make sure you were there and now I knocked myself out because you must have, something must have happened.
I walked away, didn't press the button in time.
So now we're both on the outside looking in. Let me see how I can figure this out. Crap, it's still recording. How did I lose my control of the meeting? You know what I mean?
I'm going to join that one.
I lost my ability. I'm no longer the in control of the meeting. Huh. Chris is now the host.
Okay, how do I unmute everybody?
It looks like Rita was still in the room when I left. I should have said something again. Shoot.
Send out the dogs. We need the search party.
Yeah, last time I tried to go back in and get Chris, I got screwed up. So are we in trouble if she doesn't rejoin? Do we have enough?
1, 2. Yeah, we got a quorum.
Yeah, you have a quorum.
Should we give it a second? I don't know how to go back and get her because I can't go back in. And last time I
I'd
tried-
prefer just proceeding. It's getting really late.
All right, here she
Oh,
comes.
there's
Cool,
Rita.
excellent. All
Hey,
right,
you made it.
Unmute yourself.
Got her.
You there? Oh, come on. You're muted again. I can't unmute you.
Wish I knew what she said.
Okay, you're unmuted.
There you go.
I said it took a long time for it to load. It just kept going round and round and round.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
So you're back. We're all here. So I'm looking for a motion to approve the executive meeting minutes as amended from the Tuesday, July 14th meeting and the Tuesday, May 26th meeting.
So moved.
Moved by Trustee Borowski,
Second.
second by Trustee Michelle. That's a roll call motion.
Do we lose Amy?
Well, so should I just take it and we'll catch up with her?
If that's legal.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, so Trustee Borowski,
Aye.
Trustee Kritzmeyer,
Aye.
Trustee Nora,
I on the first one, abstain on the July 14th.
abstain, July 14th. Okay. Trustee O'Connor,
Aye.
Trustee Michaud.
Aye.
Okay, let me just make sure I got this. Who made the motion to,
I did.
okay, it was Trustee Borowski
I seconded.
and Trustee Michaud. Okay, second. Okay, so motion carried, and then looking for a motion to adjourn.
I can do that.
Second.
Moved by Trustee Borowski, seconded by Trustee O'Connor.
Yep.
Roll call.
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
Yes.
let me just do this really quick. Trustee Borowski, yes. Trustee Kritzmeyer, yes.
Yes.
Trustee Nora,
Yes.
Trustee O'Connor,
Yes.
yes.
Yes. Yes.
And who am I missing here?
Me. Trustee Michaud, yes.
Trustee Michaud. Okay, meeting
And-
adjourned.
All right.
Amy,
Have a
Amy,
good night,
I
everybody.
got
I
the
did
minutes.
finally get
No,
here.
so you gotta
I'll
stop
get to you.
I think
No,
you got to stop
I-
recording. Pardon?
I did not get any of that, so
I
I'll
have it.
get
I have it. I'll give it.
um,
I'll send it to you.
Perfect.
You can watch the
Awesome.
videotape.
Thank you.
You
But-
can watch the videotape.
Okay, so Chris, will you stop the
I do
recording?
miss seeing you guys.
You know what, Bill? I'm trying to. I don't know if I can.
Oh, hold on a second. Maybe I can.
Good
I'm gonna
night.
stop-